Welcome to all of you. Today is the kickoff session for the ICW for me and for a lot of us here. The ICF based international coaching week that happens each year. I'm Sunil Satyendra, your host for today, and the facilitator for the sessions that follow this particular week. So I am on a mission to meet as many coaches as possible in this particular week. It starts with this week and continues. So I am a very new entrant in the whole world of coaching. Yes and no to that. Basically, it feels like I've been in coaching forever, but it still is 2.5 years approximate. I come from a background where I was a technical guy. So I was a software engineer. I am very conscious when I say I was a software engineer because I've let go of that entity and identity of mine. I'm a full-fledged, hardcore, 100% coach as such. So I have completed my PCC, en route my MCC. I have about 900 hours of coaching experience as such. I've been in the space of coaching, like I said, for 2.5 years. It was again love at coaching, love at first coaching conversation. And prior to that, I was working in the software space, working in the CSR space, working with the NGO sector, fundraising. I am a writer first, an engineer later, then essentially a coach right now. So I keep the writer alive as well as the coach alive. And I marry both of them in some of the coaching sessions that I work with. Uh, Very interesting journey for the last 2.5 years. I finished my 100 hours of coaching in the first 3 months of the learning as such. Then got myself mentored, wrote the ACC with the ICE, which was previously CK and the first ICE transition. So I cleared it then. Then PCC was on my radar. I completed my PCC within a year, the 500 hours within a year, PCC in the next 3 months. So by 15 months, I was done with my ACC and done with my PCC. In the interim is where the context of whatever story we are trying to tackle today comes into play. And I started experimenting with coaching in Kannada, and Kannada being my mother tongue. Right, so that was the first experiment that came for me. So that was something that happened as a offshoot of what I had learned, and I was passionate about. Essentially, the next part of it was also the 500 hours of journey got me in touch with the next big part of the space, which was how do I marry coaching and creativity or poetry and storytelling into coaching. And that also naturally evolved over a period of time. That was my journey with coaching in Kannada, coaching in Hindi, coaching in English, and essentially also poetry and storytelling as part of coaching. Then I also was sitting into conversations where I was listening into conversations, understanding what works, what does not work, in terms of markers, in terms of coaching effectiveness for multiple coaches, which paved way for me to become a mentor coach. And about 28 mentees so far. That is something that has happened as a consequence of my coaching journey. And yeah, especially here, Vishali, Shesh, and Govind are part of a WhatsApp group that I run. It's called the Tribe of Coaches, and we are about 1.5 years strong. We are approximately 220 coaches from across the world. And there are sessions that we run every Monday. And that's how we keep ourselves active on the aspect of coaching. I do coaching full time. So that's a little bit about what I do. And I see the chat is also buzzing with a few questions from, yeah, so Mary is shared. Um, Okay, fantastic. Mary is asking what to embark on ACC and looking for paid clients, the requirement for the hours. Yes. So, Mary, I think if that's a question that you are asking, there could be something for you in the next session that I'm starting at 4 o'clock today. And that's about what to expect in your first 100 hours as a coach. Could be interesting for you to jump on board. Yeah, that will be fantastic to have you there. So just a quick show of hands, and let me know what's your where are you joining me from, and what are your credentials as now, and also what's your mother tongue, so that I know if the audience is exactly right for whatever I'm talking, or else we can navigate it based on what the audience wants. So, or else you can also unmute and share because we are a small number. Yes, Sonia.
I can go first. For whoever joined later, I know it says SJ, but my name is Sonia. So I am currently an ACC coach. Very, very new into this. I've just been into this like a year right now. And before this, I was actually in e-commerce fashion for about 10 years. And then that's when I actually got exposed to coaching and kind of I really enjoyed it. And now I'm here, looking to kind of get into it full time as well right now. In terms of my mother tongue, so right now I coach in English, but my mother, like I'm from Kerala, so I speak Malayalam. And so for me, I'm kind of trying to understand how to navigate that because I speak it, I understand it, but I don't write it. So I think I was trying to get a bit more insights from your experience and how to navigate that part.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Yes, so you have another friend from Kerala. Puvin is also from Kerala. His mother tongue is also Malayalam, right? So,
So,
yes.
so Ramesh, I just spoke to you. Ramesh, I live in Pune. My mother tongue is Tamil, substantially coach so far in English and living in Pune, so need to know Marathi maybe. So a bit
So
of many things.
multilingual aspects. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you, Sunil.
Great, Ramesh.
Maybe I go next.
Yes, yes, go for it.
Yeah, yeah. So me and Sunil have been interacting with school children, see how we can leverage coaching in Canada. So that's definitely of my interest. I'm from Bangalore. I've been executive coach mostly in the executive circles, but I realize coaching is trans language, like generations or even like age perspective. I'm ACC trained and PCC trained, and I need to get some credentials done because I'm working on the R's. And myself and Sunil also closely work with Kocharya Foundation, where we are trying to see language or access like through democratization should be possible through technology as well. That's also my topic for my doctorate thesis, seeing if I can use AI or the translation tools so that we can do coaching and listen as a feedback and various things beyond language barriers. So definitely, I think this is a topic which is very close to me. Clear.
Yes, thanks for sharing. Anyone else? Roshali also said Marathi. Hmm. And how does it sit with you in terms of uh, coaching in your own language? So have any of you tried that already? Yes, Roshali.
Hi Sunil. Hello everyone. So I haven't tried, and when I say Marathi, it's uh, I think when if I would be able to coach, I think it would be probably a mix of Marathi, Hindi, English. It's not that I speak Marathi at home and I am well versed, but the conversations are strictly for, relatives and family members. So when it comes to coaching, I'm not very sure if I will be able to do it purely in Marathi. There might be some element of Hindi or, because people in Maharashtra, they understand Hindi also. Like it's our national language. So that kind of helps. So yeah. Yeah.
So I'm also curious to hear from Mary because I just checked the link. So Mary, you're part of the African continent as such. So you will also obviously have not just English. You will be working with multiple languages. You have Tosa, you have Afrikaans, you have possibly something that's more evolved than English. So very something very strongly native. So any thoughts on that? Have you had any experience with the languages of your space? So, could be Hindi, could be Urdu, could be Kannada, could be Swedish, could be anything as such that you've already had. Do you think the core competencies differ between English to any other language? So, interestingly, if I have to answer, because I am somebody who's experimented with it, so I am putting a rhetorical questions at you. So, it could, maybe you will find answers, maybe you will not. Uh, but what I have experimented with, so the way it started was I was en route my ACC, right? And I started my ACC journey in August of 2022. By November, I was somewhere on my 70 hours of work. November 1st is Kannada Rajyotsava here. And I thought, why not run a program pro bono for people who I know, who I could reach out to and say, this is what I want to sort of basically build on. And would you be open to doing something like this? I had no idea what would entail from this experiment. So this is something that I did well. So I just started. I wrote to a couple of friends and I told them saying, you know what, I'm doing coaching and this is what coaching is all about. And it had to start with explaining coaching to them in languages they knew. So the first question for all of us to sort of begin this journey, to even experiment with it, is to sort of check with yourself, can you explain what is coaching to your you know own family or friends or relatives or anybody you know, to say can you coach in or can you explain what coaching is to them in your own language. So that's your first starting point. And that was something that I could do very easily. I basically told them that coaching is like a treasure hunt, right? Every space you're here somewhere today, you're gonna go to a point where X meets the X is the treasure point conversation, and that's the space you want to get to. But you don't know how to get there. I will, as an individual, enable you to solve each clue, and each clue makes you move forward. But essentially, you have to run between one clue to the other. I will not be doing the heavy lifting. So this was what I have explained in the local language as such, saying this is what will happen. Very easy to sort of take this conversation forward. And people found that interesting, saying you're doing something new, especially for Sonia and Bhavna, saying it could be a space where you could reach out to your friends and say, this is what something I'm doing. I've learned it in English, but I'm very happy to write in Malayalam or Telugu or Tamil, anything as such for all of us. And then that's your first confidence point, saying now I'm able to explain it to them in the language they know. Second of all, the core competencies for an ICF coaching will remain the same irrespective of whether we are coaching in English, Hindi, Japanese, Urdu, Mandarin, any as such, the core competencies will remain the same. Typically, because the coaching aspect is between two individuals and the aspect of communication, coaching becomes a process. The process can be taken over between one language to another while keeping the process the same. But your questions will change because you cannot go textbook on them. When I started, doing coaching in Canada, one of the things, say, how do you feel, right, is one of the questions that you ask. And it in Canada, the shift automatically happens in style. So it can't be verbatim taken over from English to Kannada. So that's your first space of looking at it. But why does it work? Why does coaching in vernacular languages work? It works on two very, very important factors. So when I go out and put myself out there, I go and tell that I am the only coach in the world out of 65,000 ICF coaches. I'm the only coach in the world who can coach you in three languages, that is English, Hindi, and Kannada. So that's my automatic bifurcation point or differentiation point when I automatically go there, right? And say, for example, in the same room right now, we are 14 of us, and I can very easily say that I cannot coach people in Malayalam. Govind and Sonia can. I cannot coach people in Tamil. Possibly Ramesh can do that. Possibly Bhavana can do that effortlessly in Telugu. Because 20 plus years, we've been speaking that language right, left, center. And that's part of our DNA. That's part of who we are. Indian coaches have a very distinct advantage here because you will hold the market share for coaching in that language almost entirely. So as soon as somebody says, I'm a Kannadiga, I'm an automatic qualification if they want coaching in Kannada, which possibly Sonia and Govind may not be able to compete with me unless they know the same language, unless they're able to speak it so well. This becomes a distinction in a space where coaches are getting, like the number of coaches that are coming in, that are getting credentials, that are coming into the space is higher than the volume that is there for in terms of the demand. So when you are coaching in the vernacular, coaching in languages other than English, it opens you to an entirety that is unknown or that is uncharted by your traditional coaches who are only looking at uh, CEOs, CTOs, etc. Right? So thanks, Mary. So Mary is from Uganda, and Uganda possibly would have their own languages, native. Maybe English is one of the communication language, but essentially there could be languages that I don't know. So in case I go to Uganda and say Mary and I are sitting next to each other, and Mary basically opens up and says something in the native language, the person on the other side, that uh, resistance to the conversation is automatically broken. And one of the things I've observed in the coaching space is the aspect of familiarity. So I will go to a coach I am familiar with, and that's my entire branding that has come across. So I'm not a career coach, I'm not a leadership coach, I'm not a relationships coach, I'm not this coach, I'm not that coach. Uh, I am your coach, which essentially you see on the background. It says Nimma Coach. Nimma Coach in Kannada means I'm your coach. So my branding starts from there. And I'm your coach, irrespective of the niche that you are trying to work with, the topic that you're trying to work with. I work with you, not necessarily only the situational aspects that need work. So I work with you. That's how the overall brand becomes familiar to people. And as soon as and also the other aspect that I've seen is people want to see what is similar between you and me. So once people see what's similar between you and me, automatically there is a reduction in resistance. Automatically a reduction in resistance. Automatic reduction in resistance means that there is a automatic increase in trust, and resistance to change or resistance to the conversation is reduced. I quite know a lot of people, even in Bangalore, who are working in the IT sector, whose English is not the greatest. Their English skills are not the greatest. When I say I am from Karnataka and I talk to them in Kannada, automatically the conversation is just like this. I have built a rapport, I have built a connection, I have built a space where they feel comfortable. If the client feels comfortable with you, you've done 90% of the job. The rest is only sticking to ICF core competencies or competencies of a coach. The rest will happen. That's how easier aspect of building trust is built on it. But can I say that my skill set as a coach is bad, and just because I am a Kannadiga or I know Kannada, I know Hindi, I know Marathi, I know any of the other languages, that means I have a distinct advantage? No. And that's where your competency as a coach in the aspects, alongside having another language by your radar, automatically improves your this thing. I know of other coaches who are now learning Arabic because the GCC countries are becoming increasingly a space where coaching is something that's very strongly prevalent. Can I, as an Indian sitting here, or I as any other person sitting in any space across the country, learn, say, Arabic, so that I am able to work with the Arabic, Arabs across the world in the language of their choice, wherein I am communicating in a language they understand. I am communicating in a language they are comfortable with. And essentially, that is a new opportunity for me, entirely new arena of business opening up, and a space for all of us to stand out from the crowd and say, you know what, I exist here. One of the most fascinating things that has happened is people are off guard as soon as you talk to them in the language of their choice. They Another thing that I also observed, some of us who came newly to the whole aspect of English communication from say tier 2 tier 3 cities, our first thought is in my native language, then I translate it to English, then I verbalize it, then somebody else talks to me in English, I listen to it in English, translate it back to my native language, process it in my native language, answer it in my native language, then translate it back to English, and then tell it. So, this entirety of translation in multiple languages, even as a coach asking the question, even as a client answering the question, is completely eliminated if I'm talking to you in the local language of your choice. Secondly, the energy with which the client comes to the conversation is also something that is completely unique. That they come to the conversation feeling and thinking safe, that they can be who they are. And typically, also, the coach coaches the client based on their worldview and the other aspects of who the person is. That there is a catering to the specific needs of the client. I forgot which competency this is. Mm. But essentially, that's the coaching worldview, right? So, uh, if I am somebody who is in this area, it opens up an entire platform of coaching to say school teachers. It opens it up for government employees. It opens it up for NGOs. It opens it up for elderly. It opens it up for the non-IT. And that's where when somebody says that India is a 140 crore population country, we are only about 8,000, 9,000 coaches across India. There is so much to explore. This is one of the points that is unexplained or uncharted. So you're going local for local at this point, wherein in your city or in your space, you're possibly the only one with this distinguishing factor. And slowly, even at a business level, it can also help you to say, oh, you know what, I do a little bit of training, I do a little bit of consultation, I do a little bit of mentoring. You can add it to your portfolio as an individual, not just as a coach, right? Because now you know how to converse. You build that one-to-one conversational branding. You can also get coaching and training as such like this. So my experiments with Kannada as a language, and Kannada and Hindi. So I basically started with Kannada, then I moved on to Hindi, and I was anyways doing it with English. So our organizations teach it in English, but nowhere is there a boundary for us to say we cannot do it in another language that we are already comfortable with. It also depends on the client. And also the client also would have different dialects, different this thing. So North Karnataka has a very different slang. South has a different slang. Mysore has a different slang. And I'm sure possibly, the Malayalam that's spoken, the way it is delivered is different across different parts of, Kerala, possibly the same across different parts of the world that we are coming from. So therein, even if I'm telling or speaking to somebody, I have also made a personal connection with them. And a personal connection also helps me to get more referrals from the other side. Word of mouth referrals for increase in business opportunities. So these are all aspects of coaching in the vernacular. And secondly, when somebody asks you, how are you? You say, I'm fine. Versus when somebody says, ಹೇಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ? I'm like, oh, ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾಫಿ ಆಯ್ತು, ಚೆನ್ನಾಯ್ತು. So it actually brings the aspect of comfort back into the equation. Um, yes. So Rajeshwar basically asked, can we get the recording? Rajeshwar, just drop me a message on WhatsApp. I'll just share my number so that I keep you in the loop. Yeah, so I just put that there. Just drop me a message. I think you should be good to go and attend to your kid in the hospital. Hmm. How many of you also have felt in your corporate this thing that as soon as you and your manager are part of the same language, same geography, same linguistic numbers, you have built a better relationship with them? Yeah, Roshali says yes. Bhavna is smiling. Bernard is raised his hand, so I know that. So me and Bernard has also a very interesting conversation, right? So he pinged me saying, Sunil, I am also a coach, etc., etc. And then very formal in English conversation. And he said, I'm from, he's currently on site. And he said, I am from Bangalore. I said, my first conversational radar opened up saying, I am also from Bangalore. And then he said something, and I said, "Oh, Kannadiga." He said, "Ha, nanu Kannada, nanu Kannadiga," and that instantly was, "Oh, ಯಾವ ಕಡೆ ಏನ್ ಸಮಾಚಾರ?" Ta 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 ta. So we became obviously very quick friends, right? So and he sent me an introduction of somebody else who also wanted to join the community of coaches that I run. So that's how automatically it got built. And another thing I understood with language, so I tried it with Hindi. My Hindi is Usma says she coaches in English or Hindi or English. That is okay, right? So unless you're not submitting the conversation to the ICF for your credentialing requirements, that's when you need to do it in English, right? Otherwise, it is okay to do it in the languages there is. But the aspect of core competencies will remain the same. There will be a conversation around, say, right now, we say what based questions are open ended. So, what would you like to do? What are you thinking? There could be certain languages where direct verbatim would maybe make it a judgmental conversation. So, what are you doing? When are you doing? What would you like to do? Why are you doing this? So it depends on the language. So you will have to be a little more careful of the interpretational of the aspects, how it lands on the client. Direct verbatim translations from what would you like to do? Just ask yourself, saying, if I go on Hindi saying, "आपकी भावनाओं में क्या चल रहा है?" is like a is almost 1900s. I am asking them about what that's the language space. So that does not work. So you will have to go with the lingo that works best for the client and best for you in that language. That's something that I have seen because I struggled. It was almost as if I'm reading a script of a 1980s movie to somebody who I was coaching in Hindi for the first time. I really had to dig deep in terms of what my coaching languages were part of. So that is something that you will have to be very careful of. Saying, uh, can you use English translation as such while you're coaching in the language that is familiar to you, or you go with whatever works, but in a way that it remains non-judgmental, that it remains an open-ended question, that it remains in a way that you don't come across as somebody who's mentoring or consulting, but it stays within coaching. The aspect of how it stays within coaching could also be a space where you feel and the client also feels safe. That's done majorly again through the aspect of familiarity. But the familiarity should not lead to contempt, right? That, oh, I am familiar with this person does not mean that my relationship with them extends beyond that of a coach in that session. Just because they are a client who knows the same language, our boundaries as a coach still remains the same. So that's something to be wary of, right? So that's something where we say, okay, beyond the coaching, if there is conversations, if now that you become friends, you're talking the same language. If that happens, then you have to be a little more careful and wary of that as such. So at this point, I just want to pause here to see your thoughts on uh, what's this all about. Yeah. Huh. So Mary brought me to another aspect, right? So, metaphors. So, languages is a very big thing in metaphors, or the other way around. What we process as a language, how we process a situation, strongly gets stored as metaphors, and some of the metaphors are strongly dictated by language. Yeah. So I'll come back to your question in terms of this, Mary. So metaphors are a huge thing, specifically talking to this. So if I'm uh, talking, saying I'm a horrible manager, uh, to versus this manager is eating my head. So ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಅಂತ ಸಾವು ಮಾರ್ರೆ, ಹೊಲ್ಸಿದೆ. So if I am switching, for those who know Kannada will know this thing, what I just said. But others for you, it's a bouncer ride. You don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But essentially, you know that I am talking with not the greatest of, uh, impact to that particular, or greatest respect to that particular space. I am talking about frustration. So even if I don't know your language, if I am reading your body language, I can still do it. But if I am knowing your language, I feel it is lesser of things that are, say, I can miss very important metaphors if I'm not the most familiar with some of the languages. So even with English, say English from the African part of the African nations to Singaporean nation to or say Southeast Asian nation to India to possibly Sri Lanka to possibly Europe, the language is the same, but the metaphors keep varying. And with each metaphor, the client sees it differently. So what I see as a journey on the seas could be something that is completely differently interpreted by somebody else. And that is where our thought process as a coach needs to be always on the alert to say, even though I know the same language, even though I understand the meaning of whatever the client has said, I still check with the client saying, oh, what do you mean? I I heard you use this particular word, whatever language that is relevant to. And so what do you mean by that? So it could start with that. So at the end of the call, what would you like to achieve? Uh, so what is the challenge? So all of these questions can be there. And inside, so these deeper you go into answering what Mary has a question, the deeper you go into deeper you go into coaching, you realize that irrespective of language, that there is nothing that is called as a list of powerful questions. Every question that you've asked has led the client to where the client is at this point of time. So every question per se is a deep and powerful question. Uh, so and somehow also it gives you a little bit of a courage as a coach to challenge the client a little bit more. There is also scope for a deeper sense of humor in working with people in the same language because that camaraderie is already built. So these are all broader bandwidths of coaching in vernacular languages. Metaphors deeply there in terms of how languages have evolved and how we evolve with language. And a lot of the times, we'll have to be careful of interpreting the metaphors for the client. We allow the client to interpret their own metaphors. But what it gives us as an advantage is that our radars are picked onto metaphor finding. And then, yeah, so to answer Mary's question, there are no incisive questions, and there are no powerful questions that are explicitly saying yes. But every question in, say, at that point of time is powerful as long as you're staying with the client. The client has told you something, you stay with the client. You don't bring a question just because it's a powerful question from another place. Yeah. So The other question that she asked was, what is Nimma got to do with all of this? Nimma in my language, Kannada, basically means yours. So Nimma coach means your coach. So that's how also the branding is developed from that. So because I coach in English, Hindi, and Kannada, or rather Kannada, English, and Hindi, Kannada I can cater to Karnataka, which is the state that I live in. Hindi across the space, if somebody knows Hindi across India, quite a lot of people across the northern part of India, now even part of the cosmopolitan cities know Hindi. So it gives me a language advantage. And essentially also English, because across the world there are people who use English, then English gives me that advantage. So there are three languages with which I can build on. The process of coaching remains the same, but there are nuances for you to sort of bring on, and which brings me to the next part. What Bernard asked: Can translations and AI and technology be a part of it? I know. I play with languages. So I am usually seen singing a song on my phone, asking Siri to translate it, or whatever, whatever the AI to translate it. Gives me the worst translations possible, uh, which makes me very happy because AI is taking over a lot of our jobs. Thankfully, it may not take over the translator job as quickly as specifically in the contextual changes, metaphorical changes. The client could have said, I feel like I'm a Taj Mahal, right? So obviously, verbatim it says, ನಾನು ತಾಜ್ ಮಹಲಿನ ತರ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ಮೇ ತಾಜ್ ಮಹಲ್ ಜೈಸಾ ದಿಖ್ತಾ ಹೂಂ. So, but the answer could be a completely opposite space in terms of this. So we don't translate verbatim. There is always contextualization, which possibly AI will take a longer time to do it. And one of the translations I asked AI to do is translate it's raining cats and dogs, and no guesses to say what it says. ನಾಯಿಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಬೆಕ್ಕುಗಳು ಮಳೆಯಿಂದ ಬೀಳುತ್ತಿವೆ. So which means literally dogs and cats are falling from the rain. So an idiom or a metaphor can be misrepresented like this. So you can use AI to learn a language. There is no questions about it. You can speak fluently in it, but for you to speak it like a native is a very different delta from AI. You will have to sit with somebody. You will have to do a sparring between the other person on that side, and that's how basically you get better at your language. I studied German from Duolingo and a few other places, versus talking to somebody who is actually from there or knows that quite well. That's a very different ballgame, right? So, Ivy, you have something? You raised your hand.
Yes, yes. To Bernard Suman's question of having captions, I'm wondering if we have captions in real time during coaching, wouldn't that be distractive
Big time.
to the process?
It is a big time distraction to have that, say, running, even with the on spot, translation or captions that are running. Again, because you're trying to do two things at the same time. And maybe it also brings me to an offshoot of the questions, that at least I was told that it was not necessary to make notes during a coaching call. I did do it very well until my 600, 700 hours. The last 200 hours, I haven't, I just, by practice, keep a pen in my hand because it keeps me from fidgeting with anything else. But generally, I don't write, I don't make notes of my coaching. So typically on the same format, you don't need to also have a captions turned on to get there, unless you're coaching somebody there. So one of the most interesting experiences I've had was with a Singaporean guy, very fast in terms. He's an English speaker, very fast English. And for the entire 60 minutes, I did not know head or tail about the conversation about. I ran the entire conversation on his energy of speaking and running it through different questions, which I knew was or whatever small things that I could pick up from the session, from whatever you were sharing. That was it. And another thing in your coaching journey is to also work with people from different cultures, because it will expose you to a very different way of, say, coaching. So you will tailor your speed, you will tailor your pronunciation, you will tailor your questions based on what we're doing, what people are doing. And a lot of people tell me saying I'm too fast when I'm speaking. And now if I'm speaking to, say, somebody who comes from the European Union who speak generally slower, I will have to also pull back my speed of talking, both as a peer coach or as a coach. So that is something that you will do automatically because that's your natural intelligence.
Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. Lovely questions, lovely sharings. Uh, I thought this was going to be a tough session for me to talk about because I don't know how many of you already know me. I haven't prepared any notes or anything as such, no presentations for any of my sessions. I'll just drop in and say this is what is going to happen, and that's an experiential share. So I thought I had very little to talk for more than 40 minutes. So we've come to 47, which means this is a tick mark for me, and I say that's a good session for us today. Now I'm open to other questions, thoughts, ideas. What all has opened up for you in the last 47 minutes?
I like to ask another question. The
Please,
blockages,
yeah.
when it comes to the local people, the tendency is for them to say, Sunil, what should I do? And also the ability to reflect in our part of the world, people are not very reflective, and there is some blockage as you are asking the question, and it's not forthcoming. The reflection on the part of the client, how do we navigate and work with that? Thank you.
Interesting question. I would answer this with that aspect of very intelligent usage of silence. Yeah, so that is how you enable the client to reflect, irrespective of language restrictions or barriers of advantages. So I've asked you a question, right? And you shared something. And if I'm sitting like this with this particular expression on my face, at some point of time, you are switching that reflection on, right? So that usage of silence is something that really, really helpful for the reflection to happen. Uh, because a lot of the times our thought processes in different contexts, different cultures have been so tuned to give the right answers. And the textbook answers, the typical, perfect answers that helps us move forward, that we don't even pause to say if there is more that the body is sharing, the mind is sharing, the other aspects of life are sharing. So that's where playing with silence is actually the most correct way to take this forward. So irrespective of language. So next time you're working with somebody in your space, I think you can try it out to say, work with silence. Mm. Roshali says I use silence beautifully, so thank you for that.
Anyway, just to add, that would be a good poem to write, work with silence.
Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely, absolutely. And so that's a good this thing. So the last session that I'm doing as part of this, which is on Sunday, which is about marrying creativity and coaching. So how coaching and creativity can coexist. And so I'm possibly one of the very few coaches across the world who brings in poetry, storytelling, other creative aspects into self-awareness based learning. So that's something that I'd like to invite all of you to. And so uh, any other questions, reflections, feel free to share. Ivy, you can also continue to ask questions if you have. Yes, Panan.
Hi, Sunil. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. I just
Most
want
welcome.
to continue to the question that was asked earlier, which was more on when we're trying to do, even for example, most coaches would be taking notes. So, taking
Mm,
notes is writing in your own book. But let's put it this way, that I'm able to converse in a local language and I'm trying to put this on screen in a
mm,
creative format, let's say a mind mapping or something which the other person also, with the permission of the client, can relate to and see some patterns in the conversation in a native language. Would that still also look to distraction, or typically I would still only observe the emotions, the behaviors, and things, the facial expression changing or the energy changing?
mm.
So, would this still count towards distraction, or would this be something more valuable for the client? I'm just introspecting myself, but I'm happy to hear all your opinions.
And if you're asking for mine, I'll definitely share mine. So, mm, if that is something that the client wants to do, and this has been done with the client's permission to do this, then yeah, if it works for the client, it works for the client, adds value to the client. It's coming from a space where I, as a coach, feel that a mind map in whatever language or whatever tool helps them, and I feel that's worked for my other clients, so it should work for you. Then we're in very slippery territory. So that is something to be taken with a pinch of salt. That we work with whatever is the client's need, not our needs. Yes. So
Thank you so
it
much.
can work. It can work if the client wants it. Hmm.
Hi, I'm Manjula.
Hi, Manjula.
Yeah, my question is there are in if you open Instagram, you feel like there's so many life coaches. So they are also offering their courses around two lakhs or more than that. So what is the difference between this? They are saying that ICF, what is that ICF? So they don't know about it. Still, they are coaching the people. And what do you suggest? Is it ICF is like my question is, what is the difference between these two?
Uh, I am assuming you are also an ICF trained coach, certified coach.
No, no, no. Sorry, I'm not. I'm a beginner now. I'm exploring.
So that's fantastic. Perfect question. Right. So ICF is a international coaching federation. There are a set of 8 competencies that have been defined, based on which there are 3 levels of training that happens, and a lot of the aspects of learning is very experiential learning. Uh, so it is a credentialed body. So there are NLP coaches, there are happiness coaches, there are uncredentialed coach to a credentialed coach. There are multiple credentials that are there. EMCC is there, then CFI is there, ICF is there. So as it's about credibility, it's about the process that gets done. Um, I know of several tuition teachers who are not college lecturers. Amazing teaching. They can teach you for a subject like the back of the hand. They know their stuff like the back of the hand. So essentially, somebody who's a life coach that you're talking to in this definition, maybe good at their job, specifically in a way that they are trying to do a mass program. So the delta between these 2 lakhs, 10 lakhs, or whatever that they're saying, I know how the scam runs, right? So 99 rupees, there's a free webinar, and there's a 99, there's a 4,500, then there is a 45,000, then there is a 2 lakh program. I know the stuff. It can be done, it can be replicated in our coaching as well. There is no big delta to it. But our, especially ICF coaching, is very strongly one to one, unless somebody is also credentialed as a team coach. So what it helps, so we call it a gold standard, etc., is because of the aspect of the amount of time that somebody spends, the process that somebody follows, that we don't tell, we don't prescribe, we don't look at the individual as another problem that needs to be solved, which typically in some of the life coaching uncredentialed spaces, happens. Again, it is on the prerogative of the client to say, am I going to a credentialed coach? Am I not going to a credentialed coach? The person who is running it on social media, as an ICF, I cannot say, oh, I cannot say to them and saying, don't call yourself a coach, because I don't hold the monopoly to say, only I will give you a coach badge and nobody else's. So that is one of the aspects there are. So that differentiation is what is there. Are we as ICF coaches doing enough to bring awareness? That's a very different question altogether, right? So that takes time, because from a very strongly Indian context, I came into coaching with having zero knowledge of coaching as such. So I was in my 30s or I was at 30 when I quit my corporate, accidentally joined a training program that was train the trainer for how to be a coach. And I fell in love with it and I said, this is my career. And until then, until 30 years and 3 months of my life, I never heard the word executive coaching. So there are hundreds and thousands and millions of people like me who don't even know what the difference between an ICF coach is, and they don't know ICF existing. And typically, ICF week or the ICW is one of those methodologies where people can get to know about this. Uh, I don't know if I put a convincing answer to this. What you asked a question is actually a 3 hour webinar content, right? There is so much to talk about. There are so many nuances there.
Yeah.
But it will take time as such in a coach, because uh, after some point of time, people will get bored of you. With doing the 2 lakh kind of a program, you'll have 10 other people down the line with you who will then start their own programs of saying, I'll do it for 1.5 lakhs. Some people will do it for 50,000. Uh, it
Yeah.
is a very easily replicatable deal. And to some extent, people will find out, and the people who really need the quality of coaching that comes with an ICF will obviously come back to it.
Oh.
And at least that's my belief. I could be very wrong here, but that's my belief.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing your experience from zero to now. So it is similar with my case because I don't know about these coachings and all. Recently, from last 3 months, I was exploring. So probably this is for me, like you. Thank
Fantastic.
you. Thanks for
Fantastic.
nice explanation.
Thanks, Manjula. And please keep your eyes and ears open for all the other sessions that I'm running.
Yeah.
All of them are equally interesting. You will get a bird's eye view of what coaching is all about, and sometimes the untold roads and the unknown things that have happened. I've done a lot of such experimentation, which is something that I'm very, very proud of. So you can stay and you can also get yourself, the whole aspect of what all happens in a coaching call. So yeah, I think thanks for all coming in, making the Om Pratama to this very long 1 week of coaching conversations and coaching learning. So next session that I have is called the first 100 hours of coaching, and I will drop my number on the chat. Please 92353514. So anybody who wants a recording of this, write to me. And also anybody who is not yet part of the tribe of coaches that I run. It's a coaching community for coaches who are part of the ICF world. So minimum requirement for that is that you've started your ICF training as a coach, and based on that you can jump on in. It's a space where people from all across the world are there. Saivi is there, Shesh is there, Govind is there, Rachna is there. I think Usma is also there. Seema is there, Bernard's there. Quite a lot of them are there already. You can also jump in. And the agenda for the next couple of sessions will also be shared there. And so with this, I think we can close today unless you have anything else to share. Yeah, please come ping on WhatsApp, Manjula. So I'll share the rest of it. I tried to copy paste the entire schedule, which somehow is giving me some problems. It is easier on WhatsApp. And if you found this interesting, please do share it with the others in terms of what all sessions are there for the rest of the deal. Yeah, so it's not allowing me to paste all of it. So yeah, I will close today.